When I was about 12, my best friend Becca and I were super excited as we headed out for a night of trick or treating, and everything seemed normal until we saw it an old, decaying house standing just eerily off the road. Dark windows looked like hollow eyes staring back at us, and I felt a chill creep down my spine as Becca murmured that that place was haunted. Becca's eyes lit up with excitement. She leaned in and she whispered, "We have to check it out." I forced a nervous laugh, relieved when suddenly she just dashed off to the next house with the porch light on. So Mom let me stay over at Becca's, and I was startled when she shook me awake in the pitch black room, her eyes glowing with excitement. "Let's do it," she whispered, and I knew exactly what she meant. Fear tightened in my chest, but I took a deep breath, slipped on my sneakers, and tried to ignore the dread gnawing at me. We crept out into the night, the chilly air pressing against our skin as we moved through the thick underbrush, our flashlights just bouncing ahead of us. There the house was in the distance, its silhouette bathed in the silver glow of a full moon. And each step I took felt heavier than the last, and the smell of damp earth and old leaves surrounded us. Finally, we stepped onto the sagging front porch. The boards groaned under our weight, almost as if warning us to stay away. But Becca, she was already pushing forward, and I couldn't help but follow. Inside, the darkness seemed to just wrap around us like a thick blanket, the air heavy and still. Our flashlights revealed cobweb-draped corners and dust-covered surfaces, and the quiet was almost deafening, broken only by the creaks of the old house settling. I tried to calm my breathing, but every shadow seemed to shift, every step felt like it might disturb something that's been resting for years. "Look at that." Becca's whisper broke the silence, her beam pointing to a narrow staircase that spiraled up into darkness. My heart pounded, but she had already started up, her excitement carrying her forward, so reluctantly I followed, the stairs groaning under each step, as if announcing our presence. And at the top, the hallway stretched ahead of us, dim and foreboding, and a flickering light appeared at the far end, a soft glow that seemed to dance along the peeling wallpaper. "What is that?" I managed to whisper, my voice barely audible over the pounding of my heart. Becca, her eyes wide with a mix of excitement and fear, moved toward the light, and I trailed behind, every instinct screaming at me to turn back. She pushed open the door, and our flashlights swept across the room. My breath caught in my throat, because there in the center of the room stood a coffin, upright and glowing faintly in the dim light. Its lid propped open. The air turned frigid, and I could feel the goosebumps rising on my skin. Becca and I exchanged a glance, her faith mirroring my disbelief and mounting fear. And suddenly the coffin began to move, its wooden base scraping against the floor as it inched toward us, the lid swaying ominously. My stomach twisted, and then panic surged through me. Without thinking, we both screamed, turning and racing back down the stairs, the sound of the coffin's creaking pursuit echoing behind us. We barreled into the living room, hearts pounding, the air thick with our frantic breaths, and we stumbled into the kitchen, the only place left to go, desperately searching for an escape, but there was no door. There was no window, just old cupboards and dusty shelves, and the coffin was getting closer, the scraping sound growing louder. In sheer terror, we yanked open cupboards. We grabbed whatever we could, dishes, bowls, cups, hurling them at the approaching coffin. The porcelain shattered, but nothing stopped it. Then, just as the coffin was only feet away, my eyes landed on an old forgotten bottle of cough syrup, the only thing sitting left on the high shelf. And without thinking about it, I grabbed it, my hand trembling as I hurled it at the advancing coffin. The bottle struck, and in an instant, the coffin came to a stop. Abrupt stop. Silence filled the room, broken only by the sound of our ragged breathing. The cough medicine had stopped the coffin. The end.